Today we're at Heceta Head Lighthouse on the coast of Oregon, which was built in 1893.
So you got the lighthouse here, and you also got the lighthouse keeper's house, which is incredibly beautiful.
In our last episode, we showed you some of the places we visited while staying at Jessie M. Honeyman State Park along the Oregon coast. And we introduced you to our cousins Greg and Marianne and their dog Sadie, who will be traveling with us up the coast in their Newmar Class A. But wait, there's more, so we put it into 2 videos. This week, on part 2, we'll take you on a gorgeous scenic drive up to Cape Perpetua. Then, the Heceta or Heceta Head Lighthouse. It's on a cliff overlooking Cape Cove. It's an invigorating half-mile walk with stunning views along the way. And we'll show you Jessie M. Honeyman State Park, where we camped, and other highlights of Florence, Oregon. The Heceta Head Lighthouse is pronounced Heceta by locals and Heceta by many scholars. We're not getting in the middle of that disagreement. However you say it, we found it worth taking the hike up to see it. It was surreal driving into Cape Cove. The Cape Creek Bridge, built in 1932, was surrounded by mist as we drove under it. We all wanted to stop and take some pictures. We arrived early to grab a parking space. With an Oregon State Park day pass, we avoided the $5 parking fee.
A lot of the places that we want to go to here in Oregon are part of the state park system. So we were told before we ever got to Oregon to order that state park parking pass. That's in addition to our camping for our car as we go to a lot of these day use areas. So here we are at Heceta Head, and if we didn't have that, we would be paying $5, and I think it was $30 for the whole year. So if we go to 6 places, then it was paid for itself that way. But either bring $5 when you come here to pay to park or get that pass.
This is a really pretty sheltered beach area as well, so the summer attracts those coming for a beach day as well as visiting the lighthouse. The half-mile trail to the lighthouse begins in this parking area. It's a challenging paved trail with a 137-foot elevation gain.
Heading up to the lighthouse is a half-mile walk uphill the whole way. So we'll get to the bed and breakfast, and I think that might be the shops and stuff at about the halfway point, and then we continue uphill to the lighthouse. It is wheelchair accessible, but somebody else got to be pretty strong to push that all the way up a half mile. So we already saw a couple of seals out there. They were sticking their heads out pretty far, and they seem to be a couple. But it is nice and shallow out here, so I imagine that it might be pretty good shelter for them. We made it to the halfway point.
The trail passes the former lightkeeper's house on the way up to the lighthouse. Built in 1893, the lightkeeper's house is one of the last remaining on the Pacific coast. Visitors can book a room with ocean views and imagine the life of a lightkeeper. The inn is operated by a concessionaire of the U.S. Forest Service. There's a link with information in this video's description. Although there are no stories of the lighthouse itself being haunted, there are plenty about the Heceta House, the current bed and breakfast. Since the 1950s, almost everyone staying there has reported unusual incidents, although all report friendly encounters. It's called one of the 10 most haunted houses in the United States.
We chatted with a couple that was here on the porch of the bed and breakfast. They said this is a 7-course breakfast, hence why they're sitting on the porch right now. But it sure does look cozy and nice. So we will head on to the lighthouse now, finish our half-mile uphill walk. I've kind of quit picking the blackberries because they don't taste like anything. I don't know, it seems like they're ripe. They're right before they start drying on the vine. I guess you have to add sugar. Here's one. Maybe I'll try this one.
Drives me crazy. I don't know why.
I thought it was
No, just sour. Why are blackberries so sour? Even when they're ripe.
Because they've been sprayed with insecticides.
Because maybe it's not actually ripe.
They're ripe because it's right before they shrivel up.
The viewpoint from the lighthouse is among the best on the coast for spotting whales during those winter and spring migrations, as well as sea lions and many species of birds. The park and surrounding ocean are part of Oregon's largest marine reserve, the Cape Perpetua Marine Reserve. This lighthouse is the twin sister of the Umpqua River Lighthouse in Winchester Bay. We toured that on our last episode. The original Umpqua River Lighthouse was built on a sandbar and lit in 1857, but in 1864, it crashed into the river. About 30 years later, they decided to rebuild it up on the rocky ledge overlooking the river. So they asked for the plans for this lighthouse, the Heceta Head Lighthouse, which was also built on a rocky outcropping. And that's how the two came to be almost identical. The location of this lighthouse, however, makes it one of the most photographed on the coast. Its 56-foot tower sits 206 feet above the ocean on a 200-foot bluff. Its beacon can be seen 21 miles from land, rating it the strongest light on the Oregon coast. There's tours of the first floor of the lighthouse if staff is available. There's also an outbuilding with artifacts and a film to watch.
Later. Okay. Then you have two positions, and your navigator.
So far, we've stopped at Cape Blanco Lighthouse. We saw the Coquille River Lighthouse. We saw the Cape Arago Lighthouse from a distance. Yesterday, we saw the Umpqua River Lighthouse, and today we're at Heceta Head Lighthouse. So they, at one point, they built a concrete road up to here for the keepers because where they stayed is down below, and they had to come up here several times a day. So they built this concrete road. Originally, it was a wooden boardwalk, but they had rails here too because when they come up here, it could be in the pitch black. And so they would use the rails to hold on to guide them or make sure they don't step off the edge.
Be sure to stop in their gift shop. It's operated by the same concessionaire that runs the bed and breakfast. They have local wines and gourmet goodies, as well as a selection of quality gifts and apparel.
It's 12:30 on a Tuesday morning at the end of September, and this parking lot for the lighthouse is packed. There is like 5 to 10 cars constantly waiting. We could see them as we came down the hill, waiting for somebody to leave. I'm standing here in the parking lot and they're waiting for me to leave so they can have the space, but that's how crowded this is. When we came this morning, we were the first ones here, like us and a handful of people, and it was easy to park. That was about 10:30 on a Tuesday morning.
Next, we took an incredible scenic 11-mile drive to an incredible scenic view in this incredible scenic area. The drive to Cape Perpetua will take you along some of the most classic-looking Pacific Coast beaches and towering pine-treed highway. And arriving at the visitor center for the most part, you will soon realize those views were just the appetizer. First, let's clear up some parking info.
Oregon State Park. That's you parking pass. Is either one of those good for parking here, or
Yeah, the federal one is.
the federal one is?
Yep.
So I just put it in the windshield or something?
Yep, it's a parking pass here.
Okay, I just left my little card there. So
You're good.
thank
Giddy
you
up.
so much for your time.
Awesome. We have the Lifetime Senior America the Beautiful Pass, which is good at most any federal agency site. So we were good. But there are many, many other types of passes that you can use here. If your entire trip in Oregon consists of the coast areas, there's also the Oregon Pacific Coast Passport. It's a multi-agency passport that covers entry or day use fees at dozens of federal fee sites, which includes Forest Service, National Park Service, and Bureau of Land Management, as well as Oregon State Park sites along Highway 101 and the Siuslaw National Forest. You can purchase an annual pass for $35 or a 5-day pass for just $10. And what if you're just passing through and you have your RV in a tow?
So for us, we're 40 feet plus another 25 feet at least, probably 70 feet. And there isn't that much room for that pull-through parking there. I mean, maybe you could do it anyway, but you got to leave this space. So just to be forewarned.
We always like to stop at visitor centers first so we have a better understanding of what we're going to see. There's a great visitor center here, and the rangers will help you decide how best to see the area. There are films and lots of interactive displays, junior ranger programs, and a bookshop. There's more displays outside on their large wraparound deck, including some amazing views.
Blue whale jawbones. Wow. How big that must be. Wow. The roaring ocean here.
Here at Cape Perpetua, there's a whole wide range of lookout points and hiking trails. Today, because we're all a little gimpy, I have stitches in my knee, we're driving more to the lookout points and a lot of lookout points and going to the ones that we can just drive to and walk a short distance. So right now we're headed to the Cape Perpetua lookout, which is, I believe, the highest point. We are winding and winding up a hill on the other side of the visitor center. There are 3 trailheads here. We're taking the Whispering Spruce Trail. It's a wheelchair-accessible 0.2-mile loop out to the West Shelter.
Don't fall off the edge.
Yeah, right?
Oh my goodness.
We are on top of Cape Perpetua, looking at the fog layer down there that we saw rolling in when we were at one of our last stops. Look how fast it's rolling in.
Fungi.
Look at all these fungi.
It's fungi.
Fungi.
Look at these. Little pink pill poppers.
This point that we're walking to is 800 feet over a protected marine garden. This is the highest viewpoint accessible by car on the Oregon coast. On a clear day, the view extends 40 miles out to sea and up to 79 miles of coastline. This point was used as a lookout during World War II, and it's actually sitting on a 45-million-year-old volcano. When British explorer James Cook saw this headland in 1778, he named it for St. Perpetua. Many of the trails here, as well as this west shelter at the top of this trail, was constructed by the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1930s under Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal. This plan provided job skills and work to young men and their families during the Great Depression. They were paid $30 a month, of which $25 was sent to their family, and they were given $5, plus food and lodging, and the chance to learn a trade. The 220 young men were not welcomed here and were called Captain Cook's constipated crew of chippy chasers. But they proved their worthiness, even helping to build the highway through here. This shelter is on the National Register of Historic Places, and it was rebuilt again in 2019. From Cape Perpetua, we drove out to Devil's Churn, a deep chasm carved out by the crashing waves of the Pacific Ocean.
So this is Devil's Churn. We're going to go up where we get a better view.
Over thousands of years, it made this 80-foot wide opening. They say ocean sprays can reach up to 200 feet in the air. I guess it was a reasonably calm day for us. We certainly didn't see anything like that, but it was beautiful just the same. Our next stop was just a short drive south on the highway to view 2 more magnificent natural landmarks. Once thought to be a giant sinkhole, ThorsWell is most likely a collapsed sea cave. It's only about 20 feet deep, and it's open at the bottom. At low tide, it fills with water, but at high tide, the water surges in and shoots up like a geyser. You can walk down closer using the paved trail. It isn't recommended to go off trail as there are sneaker waves that can't be seen when close to it. Those sneaker waves have knocked people off the shelf around the well. SpoutingHorn is an anomaly that shoots up out of the rocky ledge like a geyser. There's a deep cavity underneath it. When waves and air come into the cave, they explode like a fountain out of the top. All 3 of these geological features are best viewed at high tide. Check the tide schedules for the best time of day to witness them. There was so much sightseeing for us to get in during this stay that we didn't see anything of historic Florence except for this drive-by. We had heard about Moe's restaurants while planning this trip. Typically, we would look for something smaller and more local, but we wanted to take a look at Florence's historic old town, and it was time to eat. There's a little confusion about Original Moe's, which is in Newport, Oregon, and the other Moe's restaurants with multiple locations throughout Oregon. The 3 Newport locations are a family-owned 75-year-old business. The rest are part of a larger corporation that has an agreement with the Original and has a similar menu. So this wasn't an Original, but you can still see the pic of Moe when you enter and get your Moe souvenirs and other tchotchkes since the entrance is through the gift shop. She's got a Chardonnay.
Yummy.
And a tuna salad with shrimp.
Very tasty.
What do you got?
Coleslaw with they say they're shrimp, but
They're shrimpy shrimp.
yeah.
Yeah.
These are local bay shrimp. Fish and chips.
Halibut fish and chips. I know I'm not allowed to eat yet until you get this completely videotaped, or shot, whatever you want to call it.
And you got salmon from
I
Alaska.
have Alaskan salmon with fries, tartar sauce. And the lovely lady over there also has halibut.
Halibut.
And what do you have?
I have the grilled cod sandwich. The service and the food were really good, and the views were not to be beat. We even got to watch the bridge open to allow a sailboat into the river, and seemingly it let the fog in as well. One thing cool about being here, when we went in the restaurant, if you saw, there was sunlight and we could see all the way across the river, and we watched the bridge go up and the boat come under, and now going out we watched this fog roll in. They've got windows through the whole place, and we couldn't even see the boats going by anymore. So that fog rolled in fast and the temperature dropped quite a bit. Right in Old Town Florence on the riverfront, you'll find the Port of Siuslaw Campground and Marina. This is another unique location for RV camping. If you're here at the right time of year, you can even do some clamming right next to the campground. There's 124 sites with 28 waterfront full hookup and 96 additional full hookup sites. If you're traveling with your boat, you can also moor it here. Reviews do mention that the sites are tightly packed together. Reservations can be made online up to 9 months ahead. They offer daily, weekly, and even monthly reservations. There's a link to their interactive map in this video's description. Our campsite was at Jessie Honeyman State Park, just over the bridge. They have a large campground with many different camping options. We didn't reserve our sites way ahead of time, so to find 2 sites next to each other meant we didn't get to choose from their best sites. But they were still much roomier than most private campgrounds offer, which is why we generally go with public parks as our first choice. We stayed in the H section here at Honeyman State Park, and that was because it had the biggest spaces. But as you come down into the F and
E and those, they're much more private spaces, kind of like how they were at Cape Blanco, where we had those private spaces with hedges in between and trees in between. So that's just something to know.
Honeyman has 358 different campsites to choose from, ranging from tent sites, yurts, and full hookup RV sites. When we stayed in September of 2024, we paid $36 a night for a 48-foot back-end site.
It's this really nice welcome center. There's puzzles, there's books, there's magazines, there's things you can buy, fire starters, firewood, reasonable, $7. They'd rather you use the wood from here. But yeah, it looks like someone's got a puzzle going, lots of information. So this is pretty nice. I haven't seen this at a state park really here yet. The other park we went to didn't have a visitor center. Oh, and they have a junior ranger program over here with stuff for kids. So like today's a rainy day, you could bring the kids over here and there's puzzles and games.
Honeyman is also a popular day use area. It actually sits among the famous sand dunes here, and it contains 2 freshwater lakes. The park is located within a 47-mile stretch of dunes from Florence to Coos Bay. 2 miles of dunes separate Honeyman from the shoreline, but no marked trails lead to the beach from the park. From October to April, ATVs can drive directly onto the dunes only from the H-Loop and only from October 1st to April 30th, and those gates are closed during certain hours. The rest of the dunes within the park are on the south shore of Cleowax Lake.
What you thinking, huh? Think I want to go in the water?
Nope. You can slide down the dunes and jump into the lake. During the summer, this is a popular area, and the park offers pedal boats, kayaks, and paddle boards for rent.
Honeyman State Park is all about sand dunes. So we are here in an off season for riding on the dunes, and so we're not hearing the constant noise from the ATVs and everything. But there is one area, there's a couple areas actually, that you can walk out onto that the motorized vehicles aren't allowed on. And this is one of them.
It was time to pack up and head to our next destination of Newport, Oregon, along a beautiful but a little nerve-wracking stretch of Highway 101. We hope you'll join us in Newport, where we'll be staying right on the bay at the Port of Newport RV Park with its 24-hour Seal Serenade. We checked more lighthouse tours off our list, visited Depot Bay with its world's smallest harbor, checked out their whale watching center, and more.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Roaming with Rosie, and if you did, we'd really appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends and family on social media. And if you're not yet a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
And ring that little bell, because that way you'll be notified each time we upload new content.
And make sure to leave a comment, that way you could be part of the conversation.
Until next time,
We'll see ya.